Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of Twins Talk Ars. We're coming to you a day after Arsenal's draw against Man United. I wouldn't say drab draw. I'd say solid performance against Man United. We secured a 0-0 result at home, another clean sheet. I think it was a fairly fair result. I think both teams sort of cancelled each other out. And yeah, an overall good performance with some good chances. Sats, what did you think about Arsenal's chances in that game of actually winning it?
Yeah, I think overall a bit disappointed that we didn't get the 3 points. For the simple reason that Man United against the top six teams they don't have the best record this season. They've only scored one goal against the top six in their 6 games so far this season. They've got 4 draws and 2 losses. So don't get me wrong, it shows that the games tend to be quite tight, and at the end of the day, it is a game that you don't want to lose. So that's the most important thing. Arsenal didn't lose that game, which we easily could have done. Um, but I think, Arsenal did have the chances to win it. But then on the other hand, so did Man United.
Yeah, I know a lot of Arsenal fans are coming in with criticism for Arsenal for it not being their best performance, sort of not being the best attacking wise or going forward and not securing the win. But we've had very good performances for the last few months. We can't win every single game that's put in front of us. You can only beat the kind of team that's up against you. And we were up against a very good Man United team. I think at the beginning of the season, most fans would have taken 4 points from United, and that's what we've gone and done. And we've also gone and secured another clean sheet, which, if you look at Arsenal teams of old, there are many teams that would have crumpled against the kind of pressure that we were facing against this Man United team. I think we'll probably do match ratings later on in this video, but there's a reason why Willian and Rob Holding will be right up there, because I think we performed very well, and I think that's credit to Arteta and the kind of coaching that he's implemented. Were you scared about playing Man United coming up to this game?
Yeah, what I would probably say in terms of being scared of Man United, the biggest issue for Arsenal is that arguably three of our better performers this season were missing. So Aubameyang, Tierney, and Saka were all missing for various different reasons. The other thing that scared me, so to speak, about the United game is United actually rested a lot of their players against Sheffield United. Um, so they rested their midfield too. Fred and Scott McTominay were both rested for that game. They didn't play a minute of the Sheffield United game. Cavani only came on as a substitute in that game. Lindelof was rested for that game and then came back in for the Arsenal game. So I think, I know they lost to Sheffield United, and maybe you'd look at that and Arsenal fans would have hoped for more playing against Man United. But United had one eye on the Arsenal game when they played Sheffield United. So they were full throttle for the Arsenal game. So I think, given that United did that, they acted in that way, given that Arsenal didn't have their key players, I think you would have been worried maybe seeing those lineups as an Arsenal fan, and potentially worrying and wondering how the game could have gone. But to be fair, it was another solid performance from Arsenal, another clean sheet. It's not a loss, so we keep our unbeaten run going. There were definitely positives to be taken from the game.
Yeah, I think we've come a long way since we had that losing run under Mikel Arteta. Really, the kind of turnaround in the team's performance has been immense. If you consider it's pretty much the same players which are in the team, which are just performing at a different level. So I think for a novice manager, the way he's turned the team around has been very impressive. And Arteta's having to balance Arsenal's team in a way which maybe Solskjaer isn't as much. We've got a bit more lack of depth, I think, in this team. So you kind of saw that with the injuries which have cropped up lately. The tight hip which Saka has, the injury which has ruled Tierney out. You saw Lacazette go down and get substituted against Man United. You're seeing us having to manage Thomas Partey. We're kind of having to manage our team in a bit of a constrained way. So I think coming out with a result and a pretty good performance while missing three of our best players, the three players which would probably be the first names on the team sheet when you're thinking about an Arsenal squad, I think it's a good result for Arsenal. And yes, we didn't win, but you put in Tierney, Aubameyang, and Saka, and I suddenly think that we're well on our way to beating that Man United team. So not a bad performance. You know, it's a point. We slip a bit further down the league table, but it's a point against a very good Man United team who've been unbeaten away from home for the past year. So it's a point I think most Arsenal fans should be happy to take.
Yeah, no, exactly. There's definitely positives to be taken from the game. United are unbeaten all season away from home. They're a very dangerous team on the counter attack. And, how many times have we seen it in the past that Arsenal have gone gun ho against these types of teams, like against Man United? And then, all it takes is one quick counter attack, they score, then they shut up shop, park the bus, and then win the game 1 or 2-0 kind of thing. So, these types of games are very hard. They're definitely games that if you don't win, you don't want to lose.
Yeah.
So, Arsenal didn't get the win. It was a bit unfortunate. Arsenal did have the chances to win. But then, of course, on the other hand, so did Man United to take all 3 points. So, Arsenal didn't win. It was disappointing, but at least Arsenal didn't lose.
Yeah, and now we've got two important games coming up against two pretty difficult teams. You've got a Wolves team, which aren't in form right now, but are a bit of our bogey team. We struggled to beat them quite a lot, similar to Southampton in the last few years. And then after Wolves, we've got, I think it's Aston Villa. We've got the return of Martinez to Arsenal, which is going to be a very hard game for us to win.
Yeah, no, of course. When you look at the Wolves game, they are a team that they're maybe not on form at the moment, but then, they played Chelsea last week and they got a 0-0 draw at Stamford Bridge in Tuchel's first game. So I think it's one, and they are our bogey team as well. So I think it's one that on paper, it's a game we should get 3 points. And of course, if we want to be challenging for Europe, we definitely need the 3 points from that game. But it will be a tough game. It's going to be a game, identical to every other time we've played Wolves. It's going to be a game where Wolves will be happy to concede possession, have 20-30% possession in the game, but when they counter, they're going to counter quick transitions, and they're going to be aiming to get into 2-on-2, 3-on-3 situations, and ultimately hoping for a bit of magic from Traore, from Podence, etc. So it's a game that Arsenal do need 3 points, but Wolves are very dangerous opposition, even though they're not on the best form at the moment. And then after that, we go into Villa. Villa, there's a lot of positives about Villa. They're creating a lot of chances through Jack Grealish. They've got a winning runner in Ollie Watkins up top. They've got Martinez in goal, who's obviously, performing very well. I think he's kept the most clean sheets in the league, or he might have been overtaken now by Edison, but he's definitely up there. Aston Villa's kind of similar to Wolves in the sense that they're a very well-drilled, defensively organised team. It'll be a different type of game, of course. They'll have more possession than Wolves will, but, they're both going to be opponents which are going to be tough to break down. And when more will be needed from Arsenal, you'll need to see a different side of Arsenal's game. Ultimately, the dream scenario would be 2 wins, but really we need at least 1. I would say, they're 2 very tough games, but if Arsenal want to be competing for Europe, we need to get at least 1 win, if not 2.
Yeah, these are 2 teams which are going to be challenging us for those European spots. So if we can secure 2 wins, I think it will be very important. And I know Wolves beat us earlier in the season, but I think they beat us without Thomas Partey in the mix. And now we have Thomas Partey, and now we have a bit more defensive stability. I think we look like a very different unit. And I think Wolves are going to be surprised by how we have sort of shifted in the past few months. So hopefully Thomas Partey's presence will be kind of what we need to break up their counter attacks and solidify our control of the midfield a little bit more. I think it's 2 very important games coming up. We had a good run, but these 3 games, Man United, Wolves, and Aston Villa, are a level above the opposition which we faced in the last month or 2. And I think this is the real test for Arteta's Arsenal at the moment. We're not Liverpool or Man City standard at the moment. That's not where we are. We're kind of at these teams' level at the moment. We're challenging for Europe, and we need to be beating our competitors in order to secure that place, especially if we're 9th in the table at the moment. So 2 very hard games coming up. Hopefully we will have Saka back. Hopefully we will have Tierney back. both of them will be able to unlock the kind of defence which Wolves are going to set up, and will be able to pick holes, I think, in Aston Villa's defence. But keeping our players fit and just having the most amount of options available, I think, is important going forward. So let's run through the play ratings for Man United a little bit. Let's start with Bernd Leno. So I think Leno had a pretty good game, actually. I think he's really come into his own in the last few months. I think he had a bit of a juddery start at the beginning of the season. We just lost Martinez. You know, he was coming back from an injury. I think he felt that pressure a little bit, the pressure to perform when obviously Martinez is over there doing bits at Aston Villa. I think he's really settled into his game, and he made some important saves against Man United. So I think I'd probably give him a 7. I think he did very well, and I'm hoping that he kind of continues that form. Sash, do you want to sort of cover how you felt like the midfield pairing did, Rob Holding and Luiz?
Oh yeah, and David Luiz. Yeah, our centre back pairing. Yeah, of course. I think ultimately it was another solid performance from both of them. Obviously David Luiz got man of the match, and I think that was well deserved. His block from that Bruno Fernandes free kick, I think it was just for half time. That kind of, I think, encompassed, what David Luiz is all about. Like,
yeah,
he's that type of player. He's willing to put his body on the line for the team, and we have seen that from him since he's been at Arsenal. Rob Holding as well, another solid performance from him. Overall, you can never restrict Man United to no chances, but we did restrict Man United's chances. They only had a handful, and they weren't clear-cut chances. I think Arsenal's chances were better out of the two teams and their chances if you were to compare them. Arsenal had the better chances to get all 3 points than Man United did, and ultimately I think that's credit to the two centre backs. They organised the defence. I think they led from the back, kind of thing. David Luiz especially, very vocal in the game. I think ultimately, they're kind of coming into their own, and it's good. It shows that there's competition for centre backs, and it's kind of pushing all of them to be better. David Luiz, maybe you can argue he's never far off from a mistake, but on the other hand, he seems to have, to an extent, taken that out of his game. We haven't seen that out of him from recent performances. Obviously Holding, I think he looks good whoever he's paired with, whether that's David Luiz, whether that's Gabriel, etc., whether that's Pablo Mari. He looks solid, he looks composed, etc. So, what I would give them very high scores as well. I would probably give them an 8 each, 8.5 each, very good scores, because I think they're well deserving of it. It was a very good defensive performance from Arsenal, and a large part of it was due to them.
Yeah, I think I agree. And I shouldn't sound surprised because they were both immense. I think David Luiz was summed up by that block which he made on Fernandes' free kick. When he pumped his fist in the air. I think Roy Keane was laughing.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I think Roy Keane laughed at him from the commentary box, which I thought was a bit of a shallow thing to do. David Luiz really put his heart on the line to kind of keep Arsenal in the game against Man United, and for a defender, that's as good as scoring a goal. It was an important time in the match. It was the 46th minute. You got probably the best player in the Premier League at the moment taking a free kick, which he's very good at. And it's the difference between us going in 1-0 down after all the hard work we put in for that first half, or securing us on a level playing field to get into the second half. And at the time, Man United were really pressuring Arsenal. We needed that halftime whistle. And David Luiz's block and his celebration, I think, meant a lot to Arsenal fans, because he has been known to make mistakes, but when you're seeing a player react like that, you can tell that he cares about the club, he cares about the badge, and he's working hard to kind of make sure that we continue to progress. So yeah, big props to David Luiz, deserved man of the match, and same with Rob Holding as well. That guy can be with Gabriel, can be with Mari, can be with Luiz, and he's a standout performer. He's come on leaps and bounds since last season, so I think it was important that we kept him. I'll talk quickly about our two wing backs. I felt like it was a hard game for Bellerin and Cedric. They did do They did do well defensively, but they struggled to bomb forward. I think it was because we were up against a pretty good Man United team. We dominated in spells. I think we dominated for the first 15 to 20 minutes of the first half, and same for the second half. But apart from that, we were mostly defending. I think I'd give them both a 6. They were solid. They didn't give away too many chances, and they both worked hard. But it wasn't the kind of performance from Suarez which you saw against Southampton. With defense splitting passes, and we've definitely seen Bellerin do more on the right. I think that's more down to the opposition we were playing rather than their own ability, but I'd have to give them a 6 each, I would say. Moving up, do you wanna cover Xhaka and I can cover Partey, or?
Yeah, of course. Xhaka, I think again, he had a very good game. He was very commanding in the middle of midfield. He broke up opposition play. He was very physical, just as Partey was. I think they made a good pairing again. I definitely think there are first two midfield pairing moving forward. They are the two best centre mids at the club. In terms of everything really, passing range, physicality, height, etc. They offer the most to the team as a pairing, and when they're both fully fit, I think that should be our midfield too. It was another good performance from Granit Xhaka overall. I think he kind of marshaled that midfield along with Thomas Partey. He was defensively disciplined. He made the tackles and interceptions when he needed to. I think it was another good performance from him. I'd probably give him a 7.
Yeah, I think he was probably the better of the midfield too. I really think Partey is, he's a stand-up player. He's going to grow into a real important player for Arsenal moving forward. I think he's still adjusting to the Premier League. He's had a long-term injury. He's been out for a while, and he's going from playing for a very well-drilled Atletico Madrid team to playing for a bit more expansive but still well-drilled Arteta team.
Arsenal team.
In the Premier League, which is a lot more physical. I think parts of the game kind of crept by him a little bit. I think he seems just a tad touch of the pace, and that's not criticism of the player. That's going to come. I think against Man United, I would probably give him a 5. You saw glimpses of the kind of driving runs which you're hoping that he's going to bring to us offensively, and you saw glimpses as well of the defensive kind of interceptions which he can bring to a team and breaking up opposition play. But I think he's got more to come, pretty much. But yeah, a good performance, and I think a good partnership. I don't see how Ceballos or El Neni are getting back into this team, back ahead of them.
I agree with that. Then in terms of the three in front of them, so Emil Smith, should we start with Emil Smith Rowe and then go on to the two wingers after?
Yeah, let's go for
it. Do you want to talk about Emil Smith Rowe and then maybe I'll talk about Willian?
Yeah.
And Pepe?
Yeah. And Martinelli, who I think started. So
came off at half time.
Yeah. Let's cover Emil Smith Rowe. I was worried about the dude before the game started because he went off slightly injured in the last game, and I think he had a good performance. He took a while to get going against Man United, but once he started, he was really helping to link up Arsenal's offensive play, and you can tell how much we miss him when he's not on the pitch. I think it was a hard game for him to really get his teeth into, though. We weren't pushing forward, and we weren't being as offensive as we were against, say, Southampton. So you kind of struggled to see the defense splitting passing, which you're used to seeing with Emil. But the thing I like about Emil is he's a little bit like Fernandes from Man United in that he kind of leads the press for Arsenal, just as Fernandes does.
He definitely brings that energy to the team, doesn't he?
Yeah, and he leads from the middle of the park. And yeah, I think he struggled towards the end. I think he's still not 100% fit. I think he definitely faded from 60 minutes onwards. But yeah, he's a quality player, and I think I'd give him a 6. It wasn't his best outing, but against other teams, he will rise to the occasion a bit more.
Yeah, no, I think that's a fair assessment. Moving on to Gabriel Martinelli. So yeah, he only played 45 minutes, and he got subbed off for Pepe. I think it's a tough one to rate him. You know, he was only on the pitch for 45 minutes. He got subbed off at half time for tactical reasons. But, you know, in terms of how you would assess his performance, in terms of him being like a willing runner, etc., you know, he obviously offered that to the team, which, you know, is what we need. You know, he gave us that energy, that drive, etc. So he did deliver in that sense, and he did offer a lot on his defensive duties as well. You know, he didn't switch off too often. Um, you know, I remember it was a Man United attack, and they crossed it to Rashford, and you know Martinelli makes a lung bursting run back to header the ball away before Rashford can get to it and control it. And it's actions like that, which, you know, that's what you want to see ultimately from your attacking players. That, you know, of course you want them to deliver from an offensive point of view, but you do want them to be switched on defensively. And, you know, it was moments like that, which for me, it shows that he's not fully match fit. You know, he does still need time. I think he's still coming back from his injury. You know, he's had a few bad injuries. So, you know, I don't think he's fully match fit. And I think he does need time to, you know, play his way back to form, basically. But, you know, all you want to see from him at this moment in time is the hard work, the determination, and also to be defensively switched on. You know, he's doing all of that. So, you know, I think for him doing all of that, I'd give him a 5.5 or a 6. You know, it wasn't a bad performance, but you do have to appreciate that he's still coming back from injury, and, you know, ultimately he still has a long way to go until he fully returns to match fitness, and he's also the player which, you know, we know he can be, and also until he fulfills his potential and be, you know, and helps to be the future of the club kind of thing.
Yeah. Hard to rate Martinelli. I think you're right in that the kind of energy and work rate that he gives us on the left is kind of what Arteta needs the most. I think the kind of system which Arteta wants to play needs players that are going to work very hard. That's why Emil Smith-Rowe has come in and made such a difference. That's why Martinelli's come in and made such a difference. It wasn't really the game for him to be able to get his teeth into and offer us much on an offensive footing, because we were up against a very good Man United team. He's coming back from injury, but yeah, you saw with his defensive work rate that he's a very important player for Arsenal. And I think the thing about Arsenal fans is, even if a player doesn't have the best game, as long as you can see they're working hard to try and represent the shirt, then Arsenal fans will love you and forgive you for any mistakes that you make. That's what I think has been most frustrating about the guy that replaced Martinelli, Willian, and Pepe. Not to say they had bad games against Man United, but previously, that's what I think has been annoying Arsenal fans the most. And that's why it's so refreshing to see a player like Martinelli come in and actually give his all for the club. Even if he's having an off game, you know that he's going to be running back to defend and put the hard work in. I'll move on to, do you want me to cover Willian and Pepe?
Yeah, that's fine. I mean, yeah, do you want to cover Pepe and then we'll move on to the subs after?
Yeah, okay, cool. So Pepe, we've been talking before about how players need to have time to play their way into form. And Arteta's had a lot of criticism for playing Pepe. He had a lot of criticism for playing him against Southampton in the FA Cup and continually picking him before in the league. I think now we're starting to see a little bit of form creeping through from Pepe. I was really impressed by his performance. He was working hard. You know, he was making things happen. And if you get Pepe working hard, you've seen glimpses of the kind of brilliance that the guy has. It's not consistent, but you've seen glimpses of it. If you get him working hard along with those glimpses, you're suddenly a much better player. And I think you kind of saw that against Man United. And you saw that against Southampton as well. So I'm hoping this is the start of a good run of form for Pepe. He needs to keep doing what he's doing. He's going to get opportunities to play in this team because we don't have a lot of squad depth, and we're going to need to rotate with the amount of fixtures that we have. So he needs to keep taking those chances. But against Man United, I was impressed. He worked very hard, especially in the first half, and he created some good chances for us. I give him a 6.5. It's not where it needs to be, but it's on the way. So I'm happy to see that from Pepe.
Yeah, no, of course. I think as Arsenal fans, that's what you want to see from the players. You want to see them being proud to wear the shirt and giving their all for the club, basically. And if they do that, then of course, you can't fault these players. The problem we've had in recent years, maybe we've had players which haven't had that mentality, which has been a shame. But no, I do agree. Based on say today's performance, you look at the team. There was definitely a willingness to win the game, and a lot of the players did give their all. I completely agree. You look at Pepe, he gave his all, he tracked back, um, and that's what you need from players, even individually, if they want to be like the best player in the world or whatever. Of course, you can do things from an offensive point of view, fair play, but you need to do it from a defensive point of view as well to do your bit for the team. It works both ways. And yeah, I think fingers crossed, we are seeing a slightly different side of Pepe now, where he is tracking back and working hard for the team, which he maybe wasn't doing beforehand, which he is doing now. So that's definitely a positive. And yeah, I mean, like you said, there's going to be plenty more games in the season. The Europa League's going to start again come February. So he's going to get chances. Especially this is Arsenal, the amount of injuries that Arsenal get in general, he's going to get chances. So, keep working hard, take his chance, and, he's going to get more chances throughout the season to show what he's about.
Yeah.
It's literally a case of it's up to him to deliver.
You want to cover
Yeah,
Lacazette?
yeah. Moving on to Lacazette briefly, I think it's a tough game. When you're playing against Man United, this isn't a team where you're going to exploit them on the counter attack in a lot of 3-on-3 situations or whatever. It's a game which United are going to be very defensive. 2 blocks of 4, etc. Everyone behind the ball, and then one long 60-yard pass to try and counter us. But so it's going to be hard for players like Lacazette to have a real impact on the game. But no, I think he played well overall. He held the ball up well. He had a few chances, notably with the free kick, which was very unlucky. Had De Gea beaten, if it was a little bit lower, it does go in, and it's 1-0 to Arsenal. I think again it was another good performance from him. Again, it's a player who's working hard. He's dedicated. He seems to be dedicated to the cause. Yeah, I think obviously he did get a goal, so it's a little disappointing, to cap off his evening. But overall, it was a solid performance. I'd probably give him a 6 as well. We've got these, flair players, so to speak. We've got like Pepe, Martinelli started, and Emil Smith-Rowe started. It's good to have the flair players, but you need someone who can hold the ball up and bring them into play. And overall, that's what Lacazette is managing to do. And so you can't fault him for that. He's making these players better, and they're making him better, kind of thing. So yeah, I think he didn't, from an offensive point of view, overall, he didn't have a massive contribution on the game, but he still played his part, and I think ultimately did the best he could, and yeah, you can't really fault him for that. So I'd give him a 5.5 out of 10. It wasn't a bad performance, but you can always argue could have done more from an offensive point of view.
So yeah, I think 5.5 for Lacazette is a kind of harsh. Well, he didn't have much, I guess, to do, but he was really our threat moving forwards. I'm just going to let the cat in, but I think Lacazette, with that free kick which he took, you're really seeing a player which is on form and pushing to kind of fill in Aubameyang's boots while Aubameyang is out. I thought the guy played really well. I thought he held the ball up. He was a constant threat going forward. I thought we missed him when he eventually went off and then Nketiah replaced him. I'd probably give Lacazette a 6.5. I think we're going to need him going forward. So hopefully he's okay. He shared a picture from the hospital saying that he was all right and thanking the staff. So hopefully that is actually true, and he plays in our next game, because I don't think Nketiah can really feel his shoes right now. I think Lacazette looks razor sharp, so hopefully that continues. I'll start with Nketiah for the subs. I'm going to start with him, but I can't really give him a rating. He wasn't on for long enough. Didn't do much when he came on. I think it's unfair for me to kind of cover Nketiah. So I'll kind of cover Willian. I think the reason I want to cover Willian is he gets a lot of criticism, and you kind of need to give him praise when he does well. And I think Willian, I'm just going to bring the cat up. I think Willian did all right actually in this game. He wasn't outstanding, but he's not going to go from an awful player to great in one game. I know we're paying him a lot of money to be great, but we got to go from where he currently is right now. And against Man United, he did his bit. I think I'd give him a 5. He came on and he wasn't awful. He did miss an absolute golden opportunity, which I was screaming at the TV about. But saying that, he's a player that's not in form right now. The ball, it was a difficult chance to take when you actually look at how he controlled the ball. So, yeah, I think Willian did all right. I'd give him a 6. He basically didn't do any better than Martinelli did.
Yeah, I think what I would add to that is it was maybe a bit unfortunate that the chance fell to him. Just after half time as well, so maybe hasn't had too long to kind of get to grips with the game. And also it's unfortunate that it fell to him when, he's probably our most out of form player.
Yeah.
You would have preferred it to have fallen to basically anyone else, to Pepe, to Lacazette, to Emil Smith-Rowe.
Cedric Suarez, Rob Holding.
Leno,
yeah,
but yeah, no, I think it was a bit unfortunate. He is out of form. I know we expect more given the amount we pay him. He should be doing better, truthfully, but it was unfortunate. I think he did the right thing. It was just maybe a bit too slow to execute it. But yeah, it was tough. And then, I agree with that assessment. I think, 5 is probably a fair result. He didn't do anything spectacular, but he worked hard and, you can't fault him for that kind of thing. I think it was one of his better games when you compare it to, some of his maybe more recent abysmal performances.
Yeah.
And then finally moving on to Odegaard, finally made came on for his Premier League debut for Emil Smith-Rowe. We got our first glimpse of him, so to speak. Obviously, it wasn't the longest appearance he'll have for Arsenal. It was more of a cameo appearance to get a bit of match fitness in his legs.
Yeah.
He's only had a few days training, but he gave a good assessment for him in the limited time he was on the pitch. He had a few good touches, etc. I guess similar to Eddie Nketiah, he wasn't on the pitch for too long, so it is hard to give him a rating reflective of his performance. But he had a few good touches. I think he showed in spurts his potential, but there's definitely more to come from him when he starts games in the future or when he comes on for longer spells.
Yeah, so apparently he put in a man of the match performance as voted for by Norwegian fans.
I mean, I think that would have happened however he played. But
yeah. Even if he didn't come on, I think he'd have been voted man of the match. But I think it's a good sign that we saw him against Man United. That's Arteta kind of saying he's ready to play, and giving him just a bit of time to get used to his teammates. I think that's Arteta looking forward a little bit. So hopefully we can see more of the guy moving forward. We're going to need him. We can't expect Emil Smith-Rowe to play every game, and without Emil, we are a different team. So I'm looking forward to seeing Odegaard moving forward.
Definitely.
I think in summary, a good result for Arsenal. It's a good result if we win our next 2 games, or at least get 4 points from our next 2 games. So, we'll see what it's like, I think, moving forward over the next few weeks.
Yeah, definitely. And then I guess, moving on to Arteta for the final rating, I think you have to rate Arteta fairly highly again. He put out a team which, especially with the 3 big injuries to, players not being available for Saka, Kieran Tierney and Aubameyang. I think he put out a team which, was definitely capable of winning the game. It was definitely a strong team. He made subs at the right time. He thought it wasn't working with Martinelli, so he put on William. And, fair play. Like, if he feels it's not working for tactical reasons, I know we criticise William, but, if he felt that William would deliver more on his tactical approach, then fair enough. He was decisive. He made the change at half time. Odegaard he brought on. I know that's more just to give him a bit of minutes under his belt, but why not? Even though we're against Man United, if you feel you can do it, then you might as well. Like, better sooner rather than later, because we're going to need him for the Wolves game and we're going to need him for the Aston Villa game. So, the sooner that we can build up his match fitness and etc., we need to, basically. And then, okay, Eddie Nketiah, he brought him on because Lacazette got the head injury. So, that was kind of enforced. But, I think his other changes were good. His tactical game plan was good. We did control Man United for very large periods of the game. They didn't have too many clear-cut chances. I think it's a very good managerial performance from Arteta. I'd give him an 8. I think, it was another good a good team that he picked, good tactical plan. I mean, you can't really criticize anything that he did in that game, to be fair.
Yeah, I think Arteta did very well. I've been impressed with him for the last few weeks, to be honest. I'm impressed by the kind of solid performance we put in against Man United, rather than his team selection was correct, but I think really you see his impact in how solid we looked and how many clean sheets we've secured this season. And I think he's learned from Thomas Partey, rushing Thomas Partey back. I think you would have had some Arsenal fans that would have been frustrated by Saka not playing, by Tierney not coming back into the team. But these are players which need to be managed. It's important that we have them available for the whole season rather than missing them for long periods of time. So I think props to him as well for being ballsy enough to leave our best player out, because it's more important that we have him for the next 3 games going forward rather than we have him against Man United, where we could have easily lost the game, had Cavani put a goal in and then had Saka injured and then had him missing going forward. So yeah, props to Arteta. I think he's turned around this team in the last few months, and hopefully that kind of continues. I guess that's it for our review of the Arsenal Man United game. And yeah, hopefully we just continue this form going forward.
Yeah, definitely. We've got 2 very important games, arguably 2 must-win games if we're eyeing Europe. It will be interesting to see how the team responds, how they can kind of cope with the pressure of trying to get 2 wins. We've got very tough fixtures coming up. So I think really we need to get the 2 wins here to kind of propel us a bit up the table, and then, to deal with the future losses which are going to come potentially when we're playing the likes of Man City later on. These are 2 massive games, and really we need 6 points. But I would say, 4 wouldn't be the end of the world, but anything less than that would be a bit of a worry with our upcoming fixtures.
Yeah. All right, guys, thank you so much for tuning in and listening to another video of Twins Talk Arsenal. If you like what you saw, please feel free to like the video, subscribe, and also please feel free to comment on anything which you would like us to talk about, or anything which you think we should be sort of doing or covering, and would be happy to engage and converse as well. So thanks so much, guys, and I guess we will see you on Tuesday after Arsenal's visit to Wolves. So thanks, everyone. Bye-bye.